Okay, so this lesson is going to be an introduction into Microsoft Access. So Microsoft Access is an application that we use to create databases. So the question is, what is a database? Databases would be things that you could come into contact with, that you use all the time, just to say that you do not know the formal term for them. So your contact list in your phone, telephone directory, all right? Even your social media accounts are simple examples of databases. So when you have your database, you must be able to manage the information that it contains. Sometimes you want to search for specific information. You want to use them to store information for later use that can be easily accessed, no pun intended, that can be easily accessed when required. So Microsoft Access has an interface that, at least on the surface, resembles Excel, in that it allows you to store records in a tabular form, but some of the terminologies and the capabilities of Access differ significantly from Microsoft Excel. In any event, this is how we go about creating an Access database. Go to File, New. You must always give it some sort of name before you actually begin interacting with it. So for the duration of this Access unit, we will be using two databases. The first that we are going to be using is one where we'll be storing information about maintenance of electronic equipment and so forth. We are going to call it, and the length of time that persons have been working, which we will be naming service. So we want to determine, let's say, the number of workers, their roles, the length of time, and so forth. So this we will name service. So after creating your database, you have to save it. So by default, when you've created your database, you will see a blank table named Table 1. Let me just introduce you to the interface. So on your home tab, you would see a number of icons and drop-down boxes that you would be familiar with in other Microsoft Office programs. So you see your list of fonts, font sizes, simple formatting features like bolding, italicizing, underlining, etc. To the left, however, you will see an icon that sort of resembles carpenter's tools. So a ruler, a set square, and a triangle rather, and a pencil. And you see the word view. Microsoft Access allows you to view tables in two forms. datasheet view, which is, as I said, what somewhat resembles Microsoft Excel, and design view. Again, create also allows you to go to design view. With Microsoft Access, you can import data from other sources. So you could import data as a table from Microsoft Excel. You can import an existing table from another Access database as a text file. These would be the three formats that you would need at this level. You can also export your database tables. So you can export it as an Excel file, a text file, a PDF. If you want within the program itself, you can attach it to an email using Microsoft Outlook, as well as if you want to use it as a data source for a Microsoft Word mail merge activity. Relationships would be the main tool that you are going to be using, because you will have to be joining tables in order to retrieve information that are located in separate tables. And you can also choose to reduce the size of a database by compacting and repairing. Again, these here are some of the data types that are available, and you can view your table properties, such as if you want to see what they look like originally after you've modified, of course, the relationships that exist, etc. So for this activity, and what is recommended is that you create your table in design view. So I'm back on my home tab, view, design view. Let us give our table, our first table, a name. Employees. Okay, so by default, you would see a field called ID, which has an auto number data type. Now, the data type is simply the format in which you want the data to be stored or represented in the field. And when we speak of fields in Access, we are referring to columns. You would see that there is a key icon, what is referred to as a primary key, and a primary key is the key on which all the other information would be organized. So it's usually, well, not usually, it always must contain unique information to that field. Hence, the default is ID, because we know that no two persons in an organization would have the same ID number. IDs are always unique. So for the sake of this exercise, we are going to use the following fields. We're not ready for our primary key as yet, so I'm going to remove this as the primary key, and you can do so by simply right clicking and deselecting primary key, or alternatively clicking on the primary key icon. Alright, so we're going to need the following fields, which I'm going to type. Okay. So we're going to need 3 fields. The first is emp number, and field names must always serve as a hint as to the content that is actually stored in it. So emp num, but we can just, based on the field name, determine that it's going to store the employee number. And there are different data types, and ID numbers are not extremely long things. So we can use the short text data type, which allows you to store up to 255 characters. Short text, the employee's first name, also short text, and the employee's last name, and short text. So let us save. You would also see the description field, which is optional. It's basically a summary of the contents that are going to be stored there, so that if someone else, a user other than you who created the database, is accessing that database, they will know what type of data is considered valid, what can be stored in that particular field. But it is, as you can see, optional. So we've saved. Let us go to enter our records. Okay, so as I said earlier, a field is vertical. It is what we are more commonly used to being referred to as a column. So in Excel, we refer to this as a column. In Access, it's a field. And these in Access are referred to as records. So we see down here that we have 10 records. And as I said, the employee number is going to be unique. So I'm going to enter the data, and then after doing so, we'll modify that field just to set it as the primary key. Carol Welcome. Nice name. Sing and Sally. And when you download the instructional files along with the associated data files, I'll want you to add 4 more records. So 4 records of your own. So let me just go back to my design view and set this key as the primary key. And when we continue in the next video, we will see how we go about creating relationships with another table and really exploring the full functionality of Microsoft Access. So that is it for this video.